So how did you get involved in the movie?
Rocky.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, this friend of mine, Gene Kirkwood, he sent me this. He told me, I said, give me a break. Boxing is really dumb. So he pleaded, and I finally read the thing. And the second or third page, the guy's talking to his cufflink, his turtle's cuff and link. And I was charmed, and it was this beautiful love story and a character study of this very engaging guy. And, the boxing was like the background, like the Civil War and Gone with the Wind. It was about this guy and the girl. And it was just a delightful story.
Yeah.
It's all about stories, I'm sure you know. Because no matter how much dough you got or how many toys you have, if it ain't on the page, you're wasting your time. You gotta have a good story.
Did you get involved? Was there any rewrites on it? Or?
Constantly.
Really?
Yes. I look at a blank page and I haven't got an idea, but I look at somebody else's and I kibitz. I'm a big kibitzer. Everybody familiar with that word?
No.
It's a Yiddish word meaning to suggest and come up with ideas and why don't you do this and what about that and that kind of, that I do a lot and I like doing that. Mm-hmm. And Sylvester, who was a starving actor, his movie was getting made, so he was very accommodating. I was constantly saying, well, what about this and what about that? And he said, okay, and we changed it. So I had a lot to say, but the basic ABC story was Sylvester's, that he wrote in a week. Because he went into, the same friend brought him in as an actor to these producers, and as he was leaving, he said, I also write, can I give you a script? Will you read it? And they said, okay. Everybody's really dying to read a script. So they read this thing, and they said, yeah, we'd like to buy that. And he said, well, I've already sold that. That was Paradise Alley. I've already sold that, but I'll write you one. I'll be back next week, and that's where it came from.
Unbelievable. Looking back at it now, because I remember it as like this big blockbuster, and looking it back, it really is a character.
Yeah,
it really is.
Yeah, he's a delightful guy.
Yeah. And I remember, actually, I was at the premiere of it at the Academy. And remember when you and Stallone came out?
Oh, right.
Everybody was standing in applauding.
Right.
It's
Yeah,
really
no,
an
that was,
incredible moment in film history.
it was terrific.
So let me ask you something. When you say that the fighting was phony, what did it mean? That you can see that maybe the jab wasn't really true? Or
It didn't look real.
Yeah.
And I suggested that by rehearsing a lot, maybe we could make it look real, so that we get a couple of weeks, so that Sylvester and Carl get in the ring on the first day. We had a place out in Santa Monica, I believe, and they start bouncing around, and I'll do that. I said, wait a minute, we're going to be here forever. Sylvester, why don't you go home and write this thing out? He makes a left and a right, and you fall down, whatever you want. Write it out, and then we'll learn it like a ballet. And he said, okay. Came back the next day, 32 pages of lefts and rights. And that's what we did. And we practiced over and over and over again. And I had a little 8mm movie camera, and I'd shoot it and show it to the guys. I said, you gotta make it better looking. If you lost a couple of pounds, it wouldn't hurt. And they paid attention, and by the time we came to shoot it, they had it down, and that's why it looked so good. That was rehearsal, and it really pays off.
So how I'm just asking because sometimes if you rehearse, wouldn't it look just as over orchestrated? Where did it get that reality? Because it felt
They were good.
real.
You know,
They actually hit each other's
No, they never
question
touched
at
each
the
other.
end. What?
No, they never
They
touched
never
each other,
touched each
no.
other.
No, in other words, you got to know how to throw the punch, and then two, you have to know how to take it.
Yeah.
So, and you have to also shoot it in such a way
Exactly.
that, you know, like profiles don't really work too well. You know, but if you're over the shoulder, then it's very easy to make it look real and nobody gets hurt. That's not the exercise, it's to get hurt. It's only a movie.
Yeah. Okay. I thought that Irvin Winkler, the producer in Chartoff, came to you, but was it Gene Kirkwood who really brought you in?
Well, no, Gene was working for them. As a matter of fact, I helped him get the job, and I had Sylvester had come in and auditioned for me a couple of times over the years. I think the first time was in about 1970 or 71. He was a student at Miami University in Miami, Florida, and he came in. I was doing a Jackie Mason comedy.
What about this? Hey, that's great. Listen, you don't mind I kept, wondering for myself. I mean, it's not for myself, but it's for this girl, Maria. She's from Asbury Park.
It's okay. You worked hard. You deserve it.
That's for real, huh? What do you think?
Hey, she's a lucky girl.
Okay, Marco, now hold it right there. Marco!
Tried to stop, he just run out.
All you wanted was that stinking bag. What did you shoot for?
I didn't shoot him. I shot the ceiling.
But you scared him.
He was born scared.
The brakes is good on this truck. I just had him checked.
Well, don't worry about it. A small-time creep. He's nothing.
Came in to audition, and he didn't get the part. And then a few years later, I think it was '73, I was doing a Burt Reynolds movie, W.W. and the Dixie Dance Kings, and he came in as a hillbilly, and he didn't get that one either. So we had a little relationship prior to this.
So he figured
But then I saw Lords of Flatbush, and he was terrific in that.
Yeah. And I understand now why they came to you for that, because it just feels so New York and
Well,
very much
I
Joe
had
and Save the
done Joe,
Tiger.
which was a low-budget film that they responded to, and they hired me from seeing that to fix one of their turkeys, which was beyond fixing. But I got to come out here and lived in Malibu, and wow, it was like I had died and gone to heaven. And this was the old MGM over in Culver City before they tore the whole thing down. And I got to walk around the back lot of that place. It was incredible. They had like half an acre of lampposts from all around the world and for the past 200 or 300 years, or gangplanks, stairways. They had 2 or 3 railroad stations from different places. They had They had their own greenhouse where they grew things so that when Loretta Young took the rose out of the vase, it would be beautiful. It was just a great experience. And then on this thing that I had shot a couple of days of new stuff for, in the story, people were next door in a tenement down in the village in New York, and the television was going. So the guy said, you know, you had to hear the TV a little bit through and he said, you want to hear a Western? I said, wait a second, this is MGM. You've got all the movies in the world here. You know, let me see what you have in your library. Wow, they had all the terrific movies. So I had, every day at lunch, I'd have a screening room like this, except that there weren't so many chairs. This was like for the executives, and they were like these giant mogul chairs, right? And a thing would slide, and the guy with the white jacket would come from the commissary with lunch. It was incredible. and having lunch and watching one movie after another, like Robin Hood, the 1939. And after I saw that, I said, wow, this thing was, and a beautiful, you know, grade A print. So I go to the guy who's running MGM at the time, and I said, you know, let's do Robin Hood again. The equipment is much lighter now. We can get the cameras up in the trees. And he got all excited, picked up the phone. John here wants to do Robin Hood. Oh, really? Can it be a road show? There'll be an intermission? And then they started talking about the leather that the guys would wear. I'm not kidding. They went on for about half an hour on the leather that these guys are going to be wearing. But this was at the same time that Sean Connery was doing Robin and Marion. And was also at the same time that Disney was doing an animated Robin Hood. So the head of the story department put out a memo, and the subject was traffic jam in Sherwood Forest. And that was the end of that movie.